Imagine walking into a room and seeing hundreds of corpses staring at you, their skin still clinging to bone, their teeth bared, mouths wide open in a silent, eternal scream. These are not movie props. They are real. And they may have died in a way more horrifying than you can imagine. In the 1800s, in the quiet town of Guanajuato, Mexico, cemetery workers made a chilling discovery. As graves where open bodies began to appear, perfectly preserved. No rotting flesh, no skeletons, just leathery skin and frozen expressions of agony. Soon, over 100 of these mummies filled a dark underground crypt. But here's the question: why were they screaming? Scientists tell us that Guanajuato's dry climate naturally mummified the bodies. But locals, they whisper something far darker. You see, in those days, outbreaks of cholera swept through the town, killing hundreds overnight. Or so they thought. Some believe victims weren't truly dead, just paralyzed, buried alive, clawing and gasping in their coffins until the last breath left their lungs. The twisted expressions could be the result of that final, desperate struggle. Others claim it's the work of a curse, a punishment for disturbing sacred land. Visitors to the Guanajuato Museum of Mummies speak of cold hands brushing against them, faint cries echoing in the dark halls, and the sensation that someone is following them between the narrow aisles of corpses. One guard swears he saw a child mummy blink, just once. Before the lights went out, the mummies remain on display to this day, their screams frozen in time. Were they victims of a disease? Victims of human error? Or victims of something else entirely? The truth is buried with them. Beneath the glittering blue waters of the Aegean Sea, something ancient sleeps. It has lain in darkness for over 2,000 years, until one day it was disturbed. And from that moment, a strange and deadly chain of events began. Some call it one of the greatest archaeological discoveries in history. Others call it a curse. In the spring of 1901, a group of Greek sponge divers set out from the island of Simi, searching for their livelihood at the bottom of the sea. But as a sudden storm forced them to take shelter near the tiny island of Antikythera, they decided to dive in the calmer waters nearby. The lead diver, Elias Stadies, plunged deep into the ocean, only to resurface moments later, pale and shaken. He told his crew he had seen the seabed littered with human bodies, the bloated, lifeless remains of an ancient ship's crew. When the others dove down to see for themselves, they realized the bodies were marble statues frozen mid-motion, their eyes blank and unblinking in the eternal dark. Over the next months, they recovered treasures, bronze armor, amphorae, jewelry, and fragments of the massive wreck. But among these was something baffling: small, corroded bronze pieces locked together in a complex arrangement of gears. It didn't match anything known from the ancient world. Years later, researchers would discover it was a precise astronomical calculator capable of predicting eclipses, tracking planetary positions, and mapping the cycles of the heavens. This was the Antikythera mechanism, often called the first computer in history. But here's where the story turns dark. From the moment it was brought to the surface, misfortune followed. Elias, the first diver to see the wreck, developed a strange illness and died within weeks. Another diver became paralyzed after suffering decompression sickness. 2 ships that carried artifacts from the wreck were damaged in freak accidents at sea. Even decades later, historians who worked closely with the mechanism reported sudden health problems: strokes, heart attacks, unexplained fevers. Local fishermen shook their heads and muttered about the CS revenge, a curse placed on anyone who dared steal from the deep. They believed the mechanism was never meant for human hands, that it held knowledge given by the gods, or perhaps taken from Atlantis itself. Some legends go further, claiming the ship was on a sacred mission when it sank, carrying priests or astronomers who guarded the device. Divers who visited the wreck in modern times say they heard faint metallic clicks beneath the water, like gears turning in the blackness. One even swore that while descending, he saw a dim golden glow rising from the seabed, only to vanish when he got close. Today, the Antikythera mechanism rests in a climate-controlled case in Athens. Studied by scientists from around the world, secrets are still not fully understood. Was it an ancient computer? A gift from a lost civilization? Or was it something that should have stayed buried far from human eyes? Whatever the truth is, perhaps the ocean isn't done keeping its secrets. The ocean is a graveyard. Beneath its waves lie the remains of empires, lost treasures, and things that perhaps were never meant to be found. Off the rocky coast of a small Greek island, divers stumbled upon one such thing. It was ancient, was impossibly advanced, and from the moment it surfaced, misfortune and death began to follow. Some say it's one of the greatest archaeological finds in history. Others believe it's cursed. In the spring of 1901, a group of sponge divers from the island of Simi were returning from a long expedition when a violent storm forced them toward Antikythera, a barren, wind-battered rock between Crete and mainland Greece. The waves crashed so violently against their small wooden vessel that they had no choice but to anchor and wait for calmer seas. To pass the time and earn a little more before heading home, they decided to dive. Lead diver Elias Stadiatis descended into the cold depths, his heavy copper helmet and suit weighing him down. But when he reached the seabed, he froze. All around him, the ocean floor was littered with lifeless human forms, dozens of them. Panicking, Elias scrambled to the surface. Gasping for air, he told the others, "They're all down there, Bodis, staring at me." When the other divers went down, they realized the truth. The bodies were marble statues, men and women, horses, even gods cast from bronze and stone, preserved for nearly 2 millennia. Scattered among them were shattered amphory pieces of armor, splintered timbers from a colossal shipwreck dating back to around 70 to 60 BC. Over the following months, they hauled artifact after artifact to the surface. But among these treasures was something small. Heavily encrusted with green corrosion, a lump of bronze and wood broken into fragments. It looked unremarkable until scientists examined it more closely. Inside the corroded mass were perfectly cut bronze gears, precision engineered beyond anything thought possible in the ancient world. It wasn't a clock, wasn't a navigational compass. It was something far more complex, a device capable of predicting lunar and solar eclipses, charting the movements of planets, and tracking celestial cycles with incredible accuracy. Modern researchers call it the Antikythera mechanism, the world's first analog computer. But how could a civilization over 2,000 years ago possess such knowledge? And why did so much misfortune seem to follow it? Shortly after the discovery, Elias, the first man to see the wreck, fell gravely ill and died within weeks. Another diver suffered paralysis after a severe case of decompression sickness. The salvage ship's captain was injured in a freak accident. Over the years, others who worked closely with the mechanism experienced sudden health problems. Strokes, fevers, unexplained collapses. Sailors whispered that the device had been protected by the gods, or by something darker. They spoke of the wrath of Poseidon, of Atlantis's forbidden knowledge, of a machine built to control the heavens itself. Locals even warned that disturbing the wreck would wake the sea's guardian, even in recent decades. Divers exploring the site report strange experiences. Some claim to hear faint metallic clicks in the water like gears turning somewhere in the darkness. Others describe the feeling of being watched, of shadows moving just beyond the range of their lights. One diver swears he saw a dull golden glow rising from the seabed, only for it to vanish as he approached. The wreck still hides artifacts buried deep in silt. Some scientists believe there may be more devices like the Antikythera mechanism waiting to be found. But the deeper the divers go, the stronger the legends grow. Today, the Antikythera mechanism rests behind glass in the National Archaeological Museum of Athens. Scientists continue to study it, trying to unlock all its secrets. But some believe its true purpose was never meant for human understanding, and that removing it from the deep disturbed something that will not forgive. So the next time you stand on a calm beach, looking out over the blue waters of the Mediterranean, remember some treasures are not gifts, they are warnings.